So I guess that we can start. Yes, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this Clean Hydrogen JU webinar on what do Europeans know about hydrogen technologies, in which we are going to zoom in and share with you what's the state of play of public awareness in Europe. My name is Alberto Garcia. I work as a project officer in the Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking or Clean Hydrogen Partnership, and I will be guiding you through the next 2.5 hours through the different topics of the webinar. The webinar is meant to be very interactive. You will see it in a minute, but there is a main objective. The objective of the webinar is to gain a better understanding and knowledge on the public opinion on fuel cells on one hand, but also hydrogen energy, hydrogen technologies. However, we have three different specific objectives. First, we would like to provide you insights on the state of play of the public opinion through the results of the survey that we undertaken in 2022. We will also take the opportunity to present the new initiative that we are putting in motion to increase public awareness and acceptance in Europe and beyond. And as well, we will have the opportunity to discuss with a high-level panelist the current status and potential action plans to raise public awareness, acceptance, and uptake of hydrogen technologies in Europe. We will follow the agenda. The agenda has been published together with the announcement. If I'm mistaken, we will have a first slot with a welcome and introduction. I will be the one finally introducing the webinar. Then we will have a presentation concerning the public opinion survey. Pascal will present the results and the key findings, follow up with a Q&A session, and then we will have a presentation about HyPop project, Hydrogen Public Opinion and Acceptance, by the project coordinator. And finally, we will have a 1-hour discussion in which, as I said, we will discuss potential actions and the current status concerning public awareness. And hopefully, by the end of the webinar, we will have the participation of my executive director, who will gladly close the event. The event, as I said, it's meant to be interactive. So yes, you can put questions, you can pose questions at any time. So please type your question using the Q&A app. You can find normally in the upper part of the Teams window, let's say. So you can type the questions, and my colleagues will pass them to me, and I will make it to the panelists. So. And yes, before you make the first question, I would like to underline, yes, the presentations and the recording will be publicly available on the Clean Hydrogen JU website, in which you will find all the information about all the activities that we are undertaking within this institution. And as well, you will be able to subscribe to our newsletter. So in case you don't want to miss when the report is public, when the presentations are public, I would highly recommend you to subscribe to your newsletter through our website. So for those who are not very familiar, I would like to take just a few minutes. I will not take much time. For those who are not familiar with the Clean Hydrogen Partnership or the Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking, I would like to take a few minutes just to underline that we are an EU institution. We are a European institution in the form of a PPP, meaning public-private partnership. And the partnership is composed on one hand by the European Commission representing the European Union, and on the other hand, by Hydrogen Europe and Hydrogen Euro Research representing the industry and research groupings working on hydrogen and fuel cells in Europe. We have a mission, which is to facilitate the transition to a better society through the development of hydrogen technologies. Particularly, we are mandated of implementing a research and innovation program. And to do so, we have been allocated 1 billion euro from the Horizon Europe Research and Innovation Framework Program. Indeed, this budget has been increased by 200 million euros for doubling the number of hydrogen valleys, thanks to through the Repower EU plan and communication. We have 8 main objectives. Let's say in general, we have 4 main general objectives. Of course, we are supporting the Commission and contributing to achieve the goals of the hydrogen strategy. We are requested to stimulate research and innovation on clean hydrogen production, distribution, storage, and end use. We, as a European Union institution, we are strengthening, of course, the competitiveness of the clean hydrogen value chain at all levels and at the European-wide level. And we are definitely contributed or requested to contribute to the ambitious 2030 and 2050 climate goals. Particularly for this JU, the Clean Hydrogen Joint Undertaking and the Clean Hydrogen Partnership, we have 4 specific objectives. One of them is to improve the cost effectiveness, efficiency, and reliability of these technologies across the entire value chain. Of course, we need to strengthen the knowledge and the capacity of the industrial and scientific actors, particularly concerning the skills. We are tasked with the demonstrations of how this technology can bring all the benefits to the society at the local, regional, and union-wide level. And last but not least, which is related with the topic of today, we are requested to increase public awareness, increase public and private awareness, acceptance, and uptake of clean hydrogen technologies. I will not spend much time because this is not the topic of the webinar, but in case you are interested to know what we do in details, what are the plans, what type of technologies we are supporting, the type of activities that we're undertaking within this partnership, I would like to invite you to go through this document, the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda, in which you will find the priorities and the technologies and innovations that we're going to support over the next couple of years. The majority of the activities are conducted through projects, and they perform research and innovation activities. And as you can see in the box diagram, we are supporting, let's say, research and innovation activities along the 3 main links of the hydrogen chain, from renewable hydrogen production to hydrogen storage and distribution, and the end users, particularly with a focus on the hard-to-abate sectors. These 3 main pillars, let's say, are complemented through a variety of different horizontal activities, cross-cutting issues. I will get back to it in a minute. Hydrogen valleys, aspects related with the supply chain, and also aspects related with strategic research challenges. And all these activities are mainly conducted through projects. However, within the partnership, we are also undertaking many other activities that are run or managed, let's say, through the program office, concerning synergies, the cooperation with the Joint Research Center of the European Commission, regulation codes and standards, the safety panel, the sustainability and safety panel, knowledge management, and communications, just to name but a few. As I said, the majority of the activities are conducted through projects, and just to give you an idea, we are the 3rd phase of the EU. We are the successor of the Fuel Cells and Hydrogen 2 joint undertaking. The Clean Hydrogen Partnership is the 3rd phase of the JU, and over the lifetime of the JU, we've been supporting projects, and the number is 314 projects so far for a little bit more than 1.2 billion euros. No? You can see here the breakdown that we provide normally in all the presentations, in which you can see that we have supported 62 projects concerning hydrogen production, 23 projects on storage and distribution, 80 projects on end use in stationary application, clean heat and power, also in transportation, 74 projects. No? And I would like to get back to cross-cutting, as I mentioned, because in cross-cutting, we're trying to address, let's say, the challenges that are of horizontal nature, that are not really related with a specific technology, but to all, or they are soft aspects, let's say, that also needs to be tackled to have a massive rollout of these technologies in Europe and beyond. No? And in that sense, I would like to highlight that we have 3 lines of activities. We are working on aspects related of sustainability. We are working on aspects related with education and public awareness. And of course, safety and pre-innovative research to support regulation codes and standards. No? And indeed, as you can see, the projects conducting public awareness activities are concentrated, let's say, within cross-cutting. However, many other projects, hydrogen valleys or hydrogen production, or projects involving big demonstrations, large demonstrations, they are also raising awareness and the trust on the technologies on a daily basis. And as I said, I would like to share with you just one example, because we've been tackling public awareness activities within the EU. almost from the beginning in the different projects, but I would like to highlight maybe one of the best examples on social research that we have supported within the JU. It was and within the FP7 program and within the FGH2 JU program. No? And the project is Hyacinth project, which stands for Hadrian Acceptance in the Transition Phase, in which, well, the project lasted 2 years and a half, roughly, ended in May 2017, with a total contribution of roughly a little bit more than 660,000 euros, and the project was coordinated by the National Hydrogen and Fuel Cell Technology Testing Center in Spain. No? And what the project did at that time was the biggest exercise ever on social research around fuel cells and hydrogen technologies in Europe. They had two main goals. One was to understand the awareness and acceptance about these technologies across Europe, but also they did a pretty good effort, let's say, to identify the main drivers on social awareness and acceptance in order to provide recommendations how industry should communicate on these technologies to raise awareness, how research should communicate or disseminate or, yes, inform about these technologies, but also for policymakers and safety officials. So they covered, to do that, they did a public survey involving 7,000 participants from 7 European countries. You can see it in the map in the middle of the slide. They also undertook or performed a survey with key stakeholders from 5 European countries, and also they did the survey and the interviews with more than 100 participants from the different sectors, no? And all the findings and all the results and all the methodology and so on, you can find it in 2 studies, which is the first one is concerning the public awareness and acceptance, and the second study is how the stakeholders, the perception of the stakeholders working on hydrogen fuel cells or related to hydrogen fuel cells, the perception of these stakeholders as well. And those documents are publicly available. You can find them in the project website. The project website is still online. You can find the link at the bottom of the slide. So I would recommend you, if you're interested to know the findings or to review the results of this exercise. It's true that it was finished in 2017. I would recommend you to visit the project website or the repository that we have on our website and have a look at it, because it has a lot of information on how industry should communicate, how we should communicate to the public on these technologies, so we really make an impact. And with this, I just wanted to say that, however, in this project, of course, the project ended in 2017. So in 2021, we felt that the survey, the results and so on were somehow outdated, and we wanted to update, let's say, the results of a Hyacinth project. And to do so, we published a public procurement, let's say, or we published a tender with the title Public Opinion Survey. And we wanted to, and the public procurement, let's say, had a main goal, which was to analyze, to update, let's say, the public opinion on the potential for hydrogen technology in industry, mobility, and the energy sectors. So, and to do so, we asked, let's say, because we wanted to understand what are the perceptions on the use of these technologies, what is the overall awareness, acceptance on uptake, but also the perception on safety and sustainability, which are soft aspects which could make a huge difference in the rollout of this technology. We also wanted, one of the purposes of launching this initiative because we wanted to create a benchmark, let's say a baseline, to compare in the future how the perceptions, the impressions, the attitudes, and so on changes over time. No? So we wanted to create this baseline, and as well, based on this exercise, understanding a little bit better or updating what's the understanding of the public and acceptance and awareness and so on and so forth. We wanted to, let's say, analyze this and yes, make recommendations on how to raise awareness and build confidence for this technology in the public. And with this, I will not take much time, and I would like to invite the next speaker, who is Pascal Chelala, if I'm not mistaken. Pascal, good morning. I hope you're with us. and who will present, let's say, the key findings and all the results from the survey that was conducted in 2022, and is going to be published, let's say, if I'm not mistaken, over today. So Pascal, good morning, and I would like to introduce you briefly. He is Managing Director of the European region of Gallup International. He was running the Eurobarometer from 2000 to 2018, if I'm not mistaken, so you have a profound knowledge on the European institutions, organization, and their policies. And in general, you are recognized as an expert in international research and has contributed to several scientific research programs in political and social science in Europe. So Pascal, it's a pleasure being with us. It's a pleasure being with you today. And please feel free to take control of the screen, share your presentation. And after the presentation, we can, let's say, address the questions from the public. Don't forget that at any time you can make questions using the Q&A app from the Teams window. So feel free at any time to make questions, and we will address them right after the presentation. So Pascal, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Alberto. Thank you for hosting such an interesting event, and thank you for inviting me and giving me this opportunity. Okay, I'll take my screen. Is this okay then?
Looks good to me. Yep.
Okay. Thank you. So what I'd like to do in the next 30 minutes or so, I'd like to run through the results of the public opinion survey that we've done end of last year. It's an opinion survey on awareness of energy matters in general, but also on hydrogen technologies in particular. So in other words, we will try to answer the main question that is put on the headline of the webinar today. That is to try to know what do Europeans knows about the hydrogen today. Okay, before I start, a quick word on what I call the technical specification of the survey. It's always important to know what was done to collect all this interesting data. The survey, as I said, was conducted end of last year, precisely in September, October. It included all 27 EU member states. In every single member state, we interviewed roughly 1,000 citizens, except in Malta and Cyprus, where usually we only do 500. Each sample was targeted to be representative of a citizen age 18 years and above in every country. The survey in itself, the data collection was done online. To be complete here, I just wanted to highlight that in some countries, we added some telephone interviews to targeting citizens that normally we would not correctly represent in a purely online approach. That is mostly citizen age 65 and above in some countries like Greece, Romania, or Slovenia. The questionnaire was developed in collaboration with the team of the Clean Hydrogen Partnership, and it was translated in all official languages in all 27 EU member states. Okay, let's move to the most interesting part of it, that's the results. In this first section, I would like to focus on knowledge and perception about energy sources in general, and obviously on hydrogen in particular, because this is what interests us the most. We will also review the mobility patterns of EU citizens and the extent to which they are ready to change these patterns. The first thing we've asked respondents is to tell us to what extent the energy and environment were an important issue facing their countries. So for each of the sentences here presented on the slide, they tell us whether it was an important issue or not. I mean, obviously, with the current context of the global energy crisis, the energy dependence is seen as the most important issue facing the country by 90% of respondents. Water scarcity and air pollution, as you see there, is also considered as an important issue and followed very closely by greenhouse gas emissions. What is surprising here is not the fact that citizens felt it was all these were important issues. It's the proportion by which they've answered such. We're talking here about more than 8 respondents out of 10 that are mostly concerned about environment and energy. Oh, sorry, I didn't skip this. Obviously, what you see here on averages, behind it, there is often a different national reality. So quickly, to give you an idea on how things were recorded, measured in every country, energy dependence is consistently a widespread concern in all countries. Differences are very little between member states, from north to south, east to west of the EU. A very large majority of citizens believe that energy dependence is represents an issue for their country. Evidently, the consequence of the war in Ukraine has been widely debated in the media, and it shows how much the EU was vulnerable when it comes to its energy policy, as it is obviously dependent on sources outside the EU. With regards to greenhouse emissions, the concern, although expressed in all countries, it's there, it's high in all countries. It's slightly less intense in the northern part of the EU. It's, for example, reaching only 1 respondent out of 2 in Estonia and Latvia, and it's as high as 90% in Italy and Spain. On air pollution and water scarcity, the results in air pollution are very comparable to what you've seen earlier on the greenhouse gas emissions, with the same Baltic states standing out by lower percentages of citizens concerned about it. And again, it reaches 96%, for example, in Malta, 93% in Italy. So the concern is slightly more present in the south. The largest differences that we see are related to water scarcity. While it's seen very much as an important issue in countries like Portugal or Spain, it's 98% of responding telling us so in Portugal and 96% in Spain. Only 23% in Latvia told us that water scarcity is an important issue facing their country. So there's a real gap and difference there. The survey which conducted also examines citizens' behavior in terms of their own energy consumption habits, and that is in relation to their daily mobility. So first, we wanted to understand what are the mobility patterns, and we've asked them to tell us for each of the following, how often do they use it for professional or private use. As you see it on the screen, the car still leads the way, with just over 3/4 of respondents use a car at least once a week. Bicycles and public transport here were both mentioned around 40%, and motorbikes only by 11%, sorry. I mean, the car usage is consistent across all EU member states, so it's evident to some extent. It's the use of public transport varies significantly between member states. It's highest in Spain, around 45% of citizens use public transport at least once a week. And it's lowest in Cyprus and Slovenia, where in Slovenia it's reaching barely 20%. I think you wouldn't be surprised if I told you that it's in the Netherlands where we see the highest proportion of bicycle usage, reaching an impressive 70% of the respondents, followed very closely by Poland, Denmark, Germany, and Belgium, where we are slightly very close to 50%. We then asked those who told us that they use the car at least once a week about their current fuel consumption patterns. As you see it here, gasoline and diesel are still by very far, the main fuel used mostly by frequent car users. Together, they account for 81% of the whole fuel consumption. Alternative energy types, on the other hand, are, as you see it, have a much more smaller proportion of respondents telling us that they use them. Electrical energy accounts for 80%. That is including what you see on the chart here, the hybrid and electric batteries. Gas account only for 6%, while biofuel only 2%. Of those with surveyed use biofuels. And as you see it here, on the right side of the chart is only 0.4 of respondents told us that they use hydrogen-powered car. Frequent users of that's a very interesting question, because then we've asked those who told us that they use gasoline and diesel for their car. We've asked them to what extent they will be likely to switch to a vehicle not using gasoline or diesel. A very interesting 49% told us that they are likely or very likely to switch to a car powered by an alternative energy source. The question, to be precise here, says in the next 2 years. The results here vary significantly between member states, as illustrated here, as you see on the map. The likelihood for switching to a vehicle not using diesel or gasoline is much higher in the southern European countries. That is Italy, Spain, Portugal, where it's only 22%, for example, in Estonia and 26% in Czechia. If you remember on the first slides that I've shown that those that are concerned about air pollution are mostly the Portuguese, Italian, and Spanish. That shows really that the citizens are well aware about this pollution, and what's reassuring here in those countries that they intend to act on it by switching to a cleaner energy. The respondents who told us that they are ready to switch, we then asked them about what would be the main consideration that would affect their decision to switch to a vehicle, again, not using diesel and gasoline. As you see it on the chart here, cost consideration, like the cost of purchase, the cost of per kilometer, or financial incentives, are mentioned by at least 80% of the respondents. That's the sum of what you see in yellow and green, a lot or somewhat. What ranked second in terms of important consideration is the availability of refueling station, that is the distribution network. It's an element that would definitely influence the decision to switch. We obviously, as a follow-up, question, we've asked those who are willing to switch what would be their preferred choice of alternative energy. And what came up first relates to electricity, of course, with the combination between hybrid and electric batteries leading the way, 73% for the two. 1 in 10 told us, precisely 11% told us that hydrogen would be their preferred choices, ahead of, as you see it, of gas and biofuels, respectively 6 and 5%. So that is to say, hydrogen here already is identified by by 11% of respondents as an existing alternative. These choices vary. Oops, sorry, I missed the slide here. These choices vary a lot between countries, and as you see it here on the screen, the preferences, for example, for hybrid cars is more the thing of Malta, Denmark, and Ireland. Whereas electric batteries, was for Malta, Denmark, and Ireland. The hybrid cars are more the thing for respondents living in Cyprus, Italy, and Spain. With regards to hydrogen, what we have measured, the highest mentions are in Luxembourg, 19%, Austria, Germany, and Czechia. We also wanted to understand from those who told us that they are not willing to switch to an alternative energy source, what would be the hurdles for switching? The main obstacle, as you see it on the chart here, for switching is the perceived cost of doing so. We have 65% who believe that cars using alternative energy are too expensive. The other reasons also relate to the network of refueling station. It's currently limited, so it is a hurdle for more or less 45% of respondents. I think it's also interesting to see that the range of or autonomy of cars has been also been selected by many of those who are not willing to switch. They represent 4 respondents out of 10. What is also worthwhile mentioning on this chart is there is still a small proportion who doubts about the positive impact on the environment of alternative energy. As 1 in 5, as you see it, still believe that using alternative energy is as polluting as diesel or gasoline. Let's move now to the section of this presentation that focuses exclusively on the image and perception of hydrogen. First, as you see it here, it's a question we wanted to understand if respondents have seen, read, or heard anything about these alternative energy sources individually. As you see it on this slide, the awareness levels of alternative energies is very high for all. There is, again, an indication that citizens are keen on understanding those alternatives. It's as high as 95% or 94% for solar energy and wind energy. For hydrogen, more precisely, it reaches 82% of those that are not only they've heard something, but they are familiar with it, or they heard something, but they are not that familiar with it. It's always interesting to try to figure out where this awareness is highest in the EU. It's as you see it here, the awareness of on hydrogen is highest in countries like Germany, Austria, and Netherlands, and it's lowest in Cyprus, Denmark, and Greece. With only, I mean, it's still high, but I would say with only 53% in Cyprus, 63% in Denmark, and 67% in Greece. Here also we start touching on this idea of the perception on all these energy alternatives, and we've asked respondents to tell us, according to them, to what extent each had an impact on the environment. We presented a scale ranging from 0 to 10, and 0 was supposed to mean that this energy has absolutely no impact on the environment, and 10 has a very negative impact on the environment, as you see there. Fossil energy and nuclear energy, as you see it on the left side, are widely recognized as having a negative impact on the environment, with scores that are relatively high. Like fossil energy, for example, it's 7.7 on that scale. That's really very close to 10. It's followed very closely by nuclear energy, reaching 6.2, and from biofuels, or going right side of the chart there, we start entering the area where the respondents believe that it don't have that much impact on lesser impact. Let's say it like this, or rather a lesser impact on the environment. Hydrogen, more precisely, is here with a score of on average 3.88, which is a clear indication that it's seen rather positively with regards to its environmental impact. From a social demographical perspective, I wanted to highlight two things here, is where men seem to be slightly more positive than women about the environmental impact of hydrogen. It's maybe because women, are slightly less familiar with hydrogen on the question of awareness. They only were 22% to tell us they seen or heard something about hydrogen, compared to 36% of men. So probably this low awareness leads to a misunderstanding maybe about the environmental impact. And maybe here on the right side, a bit slightly more surprising for me is that the older generation seems to be much more positive than the younger one on the way they perceive the impact of hydrogen on the environment. Their score is on average is 2.9, where the younger generation is as high as 4.5. Here, I mean, since the idea of completing our review on the image of the hydrogen, we have asked respondents to tell us the extent to which they agree or disagree with each of the 4 statements that you have there. On the left side, on top left, I mean, with obviously the context of the energy crisis resulting from the Russian invasion of Ukraine, I mean, it's not surprising to see that that survey here, respondent with a large majority feel that hydrogen could be or could play an important role in reducing this energy dependence. 70% agree with the fact that's a good solution for that. The perception of the risk here linked to the use of hydrogen is obviously key to its development. What we have seen that close to 6 in 10 respondents told us that they believe hydrogen is as safe as any other energy. A wide majority also believe that hydrogen is a sustainable energy source, as you see it here. And finally, again, I would say only 22% say that hydrogen is as polluting as diesel or gasoline, meaning that a large majority recognize hydrogen as being a clean energy. Finally, we're getting close to the end here. So we wanted to understand the awareness of hydrogen application, that is as fuel transport, industrial usage, and use at home. The most widely recognized known application in that respect is the use of hydrogen as a fuel for transport, where 76% told us that they come across this application. As you see, it followed very closely, by the use in industry and the use of heating for heating houses and buildings. Last slide here. As you see it here, just 13% at the EU level have experienced hydrogen energy in any of the 3 applications. We wanted to know if personally or at work, respondents have had any experience with the 3 applications you've seen on the earliest question. Situation varies a lot between countries, reaching as high as 21% in Denmark, but as low as 6% in Cyprus and 4% in Malta. To wrap up, I think what we have learned from the survey that the overall image of hydrogen is positive. And compared to all other alternative energy, it's felt to be important for the future, as 70% have agreed that it plays an important role in reducing energy dependence, and a very close proportion also believes that it's a sustainable energy source. The public also recognized that hydrogen has a rather positive impact on the environment. Finally, with regards to the energy patterns and consumption, we still see that energy consumption for mobility is still widely centered around gasoline and diesel. However, we have an important proportion of the citizens telling us that they are considering switching to an alternative energy in the coming 2 years. And if we want to answer those expectations, I think the most important is to work on the cost consideration, but also on the refueling network. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pascal, and yeah, very interesting results, to be honest. I'm very glad to see that 8 out of 10 Europeans are aware of the hydrogen technologies and believe that they are a promising energy carrier or energy source, depending on how you want to see it. Very interesting. Thank you very much for your for the efforts and the presentation today. We have several questions in the chat, so I would like to give first preference to them. The first question is related with the recording and the slides, and yes, I would like to underline again, the slides will be available on the website together with the recording, so don't worry. And as I mentioned in the introduction, feel free to register to our newsletter, so you can receive all the notifications and updates from the partnership. The second question, Pascal, it's related with the drivers. I will read it. I will try to read it through, and let's see the countries in which the awareness is highest. No, you mentioned Germany, Austria, and the Netherlands, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
What would be in your opinion? What are the key drivers of that awareness? Why those are more aware than others?
Very interesting. I mean, the awareness in general is often the consequence of how much this is either of interest to the respondent as a person, but also as an interest for the society as a whole. That is, has it been debated in the media? Has it been debated in the political sphere? Is this something that is discussed locally? And awareness is obviously only the consequences of those elements. So it's very difficult to have a clear answer on that. Most likely it's due to the fact that it's been the question of hydrogen has been out there in the media at some stage. It's difficult to say without living in those countries to understand to what extent and in which frame it was discussed. But also, if you look at the smallest countries, one can understand why this is not an issue that is circulating, and this is why it's not. People are not aware in those countries. Surprisingly so, as I said on this chart, is the fact that it's very low in countries like Denmark.
Yeah.
I was the first surprised, but again, it's maybe the question is discussed differently or not even debated as such, or other alternatives, because the level of awareness is very high on other energy sources. So that means probably there is a political decision on where to drive those the country like Denmark when it comes to choices on alternative energy.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah, very curious that Denmark is not the highest part, let's say, of the survey. Yeah. Next question is related with I think you tackled it somehow in the previous one, but related with the regions and the small territories. No, if there are specificities in your views, if there are specificities of the public awareness, specifics to the public awareness from the regional perspective. Do you think at the region level, I think you covered most of the regions, no? All the regions, let's say.
All the regions. Yes. The regions. We've covered all the regions. I mean, the difficulty on drawing conclusion on regions, I mean, we deliberately did charts like the one you have there with a regional perspective. Don't forget that we only have 1,000 interviews per country. Yes. And countries with a big number of regions, it's very difficult to draw sound conclusion at the regional level at this stage. It's clear indication that even when you see on those charts, there are different even patterns within a country, within a single country, and within the regions of the country. If you look at Italy, for example, as here about the concern on greenhouse gas emissions, it's more the thing of the south compared to the north. It's very clear-cut distinction between the two colors of the region in Italy here. You see? Mm-hmm. So we see differences, of course, like we see differences between member states within each member state. Maybe it's less so in the smaller countries from a geographical perspective, but certainly in big countries like France, Spain, Italy, where you still have that different levels of disseminating the information, different level of interest may also, so that's what it creates regional differences as well. But definitely from an action perspective, and maybe this is why the question has been asked, it is worthwhile looking at those differences because I guess the one-size-fits-all approach doesn't work anymore. And when you have like charts like this one here between north and south of Italy, for example, one has to take into account those attitude, differentiated attitude, and potentially go out in a differentiated way as well to those citizens to convince them, to inform them, and so forth.
Yeah, I guess that it's a collective exercise. It's at the member state level, regional level, and even the territories. So
yeah,
we will tackle that later on. Yes, I have another question, which is a good one indeed. Let's see if maybe it's too technical and we cannot do it, but a 0.4% of hydrogen power cars was mentioned, in your presentation. Based on the number of the participants that own a car, how many hydrogen power cars does this correspond to? In numbers, I guess that the question is related with the number of hydrogen cars, how this 0.4% it's let's say in numbers.
In numbers, I mean, what you see on mobility patterns is averages, of course. So what we see, and it's not about car ownership. What we then definitely we want to more talk about usage than ownership, because we know there is more in some countries, in some cities, more this idea of car sharing. So it's not about the ownership at this stage in this question. We wanted really to include all users, be it private, professional, or occasional users. So this is where this is what the whole question is all about. We only, of course, wanted to understand those patterns with regards to every single mode here, but we essentially wanted them to take those who use a car and drive them through to understand the full pattern. What type of car they use, are they ready to switch in the coming years if they use a gasoline or diesel, which is by a very interesting and also positively surprising results. There is 1 out of 2 are ready or considering to switch in the coming 2 years. And if also would be a great achievement by, I guess, but also to understand what matters to them, what will help them switch. One slide that is not there for you to know is there is an important proportion also of citizens that are even ready to pay more for a cleaner energy. In other words, if you combine all those results one after the other, that is current situation, this willingness, massive willingness to switch, already considering alternatives and evaluating them, understanding what are the hurdles, but even ready to pay more for a cleaner energy. That means there is a real conscience about the environment nowadays. We know it, it's confirmed by what we've seen here, and clear action undertaking that is underway. I wouldn't say undergoing right now, but it's underway. Yeah, that's the message that I draw from this survey.
Interesting, Pascal. We have several questions. Maybe we cannot address them in this Q&A session, and we will have to address them at the beginning of the panel discussion. Because and I was also, but I would like to tackle 1 or 2 more. I was also surprised when I saw the results of the survey, particularly on the generational differences. Not that the youngest see it less, let's say, favorable than the other one. How would you explain? This is a question from François Thierry. How would you explain that the younger generation see it less, let's say, favorably than older ones? That's a very good question. What would you think?
Very good questions, and very contradictory ones.
Yeah, initially what we thought, no?
Yeah, no, exactly, because I just made this logic of what the message we get from the survey. There is this understanding of the current environmental solution, the willingness to move forward, and so forth. We know that the younger generation are supposed to lead in this. I mean, we need to go dig deeper in the data to understand that pattern more. My hunch, I would say, my gut feeling here is probably is this idea of the young generation also might be the one to care more about cost issues. So in other words, not considering at all this future change. So probably not looking at the information, so misunderstanding what are those alternatives. I cannot see anything else because we know their willingness to act on the environment. It's not interpreted here in action, I would say. So it requires some deeper analysis for sure.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I'm just checking the questions. I see many of them. Some of them somehow we can tackle them later, but maybe I would like to tackle just the last one, which is concerning the colors. I think that's also quite relevant. If in the survey, because of course you know there is a trend, let's say, to put colors to everything as well, to hydrogen. There are green hydrogen, blue hydrogen, gray hydrogen, pink, turquoise. There are plenty of colors around hydrogen in different streams. And I wondered if in the survey you somehow tackle these aspects, how the hydrogen is produced, the energy source that is used to produce hydrogen, or would you just were tackling, let's say, hydrogen as a whole, without or regardless the origin of the energy, if it's green and gray or pink? What's
interesting. It's something we discussed a lot during the questionnaire design phase.
Yes.
There's obviously there was the willingness to also to understand that level of technicalities, but my preference was to avoid entering into this technical aspect of how hydrogen is produced, the alternative solutions. I think it goes beyond at this stage the public as such, in the sense when it comes to when we enter in survey research into testing technical elements, we've seen often respondents end up guessing, and we want to avoid that. I think we went around the question several times, and I recommended that we keep at this stage as the first baseline, as if you want, just to have first the state of the public opinion on awareness of hydrogen. And if you see it's rather low, let's be honest there. I mean, it's high in terms of have you seen and read anything about it? But once you start getting into detail, you lose granularity, you lose understanding sometimes. So maybe adding that layer would have even made things more complicated for respondents. That's why we did not tackle it.
Very good. Let's stop here and let's continue during the panel discussions. Otherwise, we will lag behind the schedule. So thanks again, Pascal, for all the works and answering the questions from the audience. There are several of them, but we will tackle as well how would you recommend, let's say, what type of actions, let's say, we could put in place to raise public awareness, and a little bit about the roles, but we will tackle those things in the panel discussions. Thanks again, Pascal, and I would like to, yes?
Maybe what I can do, Alberto, is if you share with me separately the question, and I will try to answer them by email. Each, so we are sure that everyone
you can have a look at them in the Q&A chat box.
Okay, perfect.
If you want to, if you have the time now to go through them. Otherwise, as I said, we will have a few minutes before you catch your plane. I know you have to leave earlier. Don't worry, I'm aware of that. We will try to catch up and yeah, discuss a little bit more with you before you leave during the panel discussions. Thank you again. And I would like to introduce now, if I'm able to switch, yes, the slide. To the next speaker, who is Ilaria Schiavi. Ilaria, thank you for being with us and for sharing with us the work plan and the objectives and the expected results, let's say, and outcomes from the new initiative that we are putting in place, the HyPop project. I would like just to share with the audience that you are working as a project manager and business development executive at Environment Park Torino, if I'm not mistaken. And you've been, working, and you have a long track on activity, long track experience on environmental awareness, environmental policy, and waste management, among other issues. And today you are here with us in your role of coordinating as coordinator of the HyPop project, which we have just started. So thanks again, Ilaria, for being with us. Feel free to take control of the screen, share your presentation, share the slides, and let's see what is the work plan and what is the HyPop project about. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. It is a very, very interesting event. We are learning a lot from the survey that has been conducted. And indeed, my telephone has been buzzing with all the colleagues who have been telling me about things and reacting to the information that we just received. So I work for Environment Park. Environment Park in Turin is a place, is a technology park, but is also a center of competence, and we represent the local industry supply chain for hydrogen. I'm here as a coordinator of project HyPop. Project HyPop, which is about hydrogen public opinion and acceptance. And obviously my screen is not working to get to the next slide. So just wait 1 second.
I'm afraid not yet, Ilaria.
Okay.
There we go. Now it works.
Perfect. Okay, thank you very much. So I'm representing a consortium of 8 organizations. So alongside us, there are other 3 hydrogen clusters. Cluster Tweed from Wallonia and Brussels in Belgium. The Pomeranian Regional Chamber of Commerce in Poland, and the Balkan Hydrogen Cluster in Bulgaria. We also have on board 3 research organizations, the Institutes for Method Innovation from Ireland, and they are specialists in social innovation and have worked on social acceptance of new technologies, such as water reuse technologies or use of alternative sources of water, for example. Then the IMDEA Energy Institute from Spain, who are working on social life cycle assessment, amongst other things, and the Centro Nacional del Hidrógeno from Spain, which is also the past coordinator of Project Hyacinth, which Alberto has introduced just now. Finally, we have on board APRE, which is the Italian Agency for the Promotion of European Research, which is a strategic communication and stakeholder engagement specialist. HyPop started just in June this year, so it's just 1 month old, and will last for 2 years. HyPop was selected as the project to be funded under this September 22 call, a call on public understanding of hydrogen and fuel cell technology, a call which indeed put forward the challenge of understanding the reaction and attitude toward fuel cell and hydrogen technologies as well, and which has the aim and expects to enhance the involvement of citizens in implementing the technologies which will allow the transition to hydrogen, to understand how to get to the public and to make sure that the opinion are influenced positively by understanding how fuel cell and hydrogen technologies are currently depicted in the media. And to understand then what is the message that is being transmitted out there and how we can improve it so that there is a positive and positive reaction and there is a proper public information strategy, and then also bridging the technical aspect with the socio-economic and environmental acceptance of fuel cell technologies to make sure that there is also an informed decision making. The project also aims to contribute to this cross-cutting objective in the area of education and public awareness, which is indeed raising the public awareness and the trust towards hydrogen technologies, not only by the public, the end users, but also by those who are actually enabling the implementation of this technology, so local authorities, certification bodies, and first responders. The overall objective of Project HyPop is therefore to raise the public awareness and to raise the trust towards the technologies linked to hydrogen and also to the overall systemic benefit of hydrogen. We would like to deepen our understanding of how the citizens, the consumers, the end users, the stakeholders can be involved more effectively in implementing these technologies. And also we would like to try new ways of communicating the new hydrogen technologies, validate them, and then clearly help the whole community to communicate about these new opportunities. These general objectives are underpinned by 6 specific objectives. You will see that we are taking information from the public survey, which has been concluded and presented just now. We will also take the findings of the HySync projects. Obviously, a few years are a lot of time now that there is such a development of social media, for example, and indeed analysis of social media is one of the key activities that we will be undertaking to understand what are the messages that are being provided through this media, how people are engaging, if at all, with these messages. Also, the fact that might not be engaging could be an important signal of what's happening out there. And also, we will use some direct engagement activities through co-creation workshops to ensure that we can discuss face-to-face with people to understand what are their knowledge, what is their knowledge, their level of awareness, their level of familiarity, which we have seen is not that all overall. So this will help us to enhance the involvement of the citizen and hopefully help us in devising way to communicate better the hydrogen technologies. Indeed, we will also use social and environmental life cycle assessment as we consider this an important bridge between the technical and the public citizen involvement, and to engage the general public audiences and to ensure that perhaps their concerns are also taken into account while assessing the technologies alongside the environmental aspects that are currently taken into account. we decided, following on in a way from the Hyacinth project, to also deal with the stakeholders, so the safety, the certification body, the permitting bodies, because we are facing as involved as people involved, technologists involved in demonstrating, for example, new technologies. We face often some issues in actually putting into place these technologies, these demonstrations. And we would like to understand what are the messages that they need to hear, and how we can help them and help us to demonstrate the technologies that will be with us in the future. We will be looking specifically at two examples, both for the social and environmental life cycle assessment, but also for the safety and certification aspect. We will be looking at two specific examples of hydrogen technology. So we've seen that the mobility use of hydrogen has already been seen as one of the most relevant area of intervention of hydrogen, and this will be one of our examples. But we will also look at another key area of application, which is the use in residential buildings, which might be raise some concerns, or is the one which for sure has raised in our experience also some issues, especially with the certification and safety authorities. How and what we will be we will try to reach this objective. As we say, as I said, we have two streams of action with the citizens and the public stakeholders, and they are bridged through the social life cycle assessment. But overall, the methodology is quite simple, but we think is quite effective. So we will do a first phase of analysis. We have all the data collected from the public survey, but we will also see what's happening at the level of the mass media, and especially the social media. And also we will look at how policies and strategies are implemented, and how the regulations are currently in place for the technologies which are already commercialized, and how would they deal with new technologies. Then we will go through a step of engagement with the people, the citizen and the stakeholders, through workshops where we will have an opportunity to discuss the new technologies, to discuss the overall messages linked to hydrogen and hydrogen technologies. And also we will try a social media campaign to try and stimulate some reactions and see what works and what doesn't. But then most importantly, what we aim to present and to issue from this project is a set of guidelines, mostly addressed to people who are implementing new technologies. So how to best involve the citizens, how to best speak to public stakeholders and communicate to them. We will develop some social life cycle assessment indicators, also on the basis of some projects which are already on board. We will be actually experimenting these social life cycle assessment indicators and checking with the public and the stakeholders if they are capturing what their concerns are. We will be issuing a communication toolkit to be used by journalists and by the technologists who are implementing and communicating. about the technologies. And finally, we will be creating a web platform where we'll be uploading mostly videos, video material presenting hydrogen technologies. Why we've chosen videos? We believe that the videos, the pictures, the images are a very important way of communicating the messages. Nowadays, we are all used to watch rather than to read, especially the youngest generation that we have seen. We need to get in touch with and to try and raise awareness and acceptance of technologies, and also because videos can also be used in social media. However, I have now a call for action for the audience here. As I mentioned, we have direct experience of facing some issues in when we would like to demonstrate our new technologies in public spaces. So we are already connected with some projects which are doing so and having and learning a lot of lessons as they go along. But we would like to hear the experience of other technologies which are implementing new hydrogen technologies or even are implementing more commercial technologies. We would like to understand what is the reaction of the people they are dealing with, the citizens where they are in the regions where they are introducing these technologies, because we would really like to gather a better understanding of what is working and what is not, and hopefully help you to achieve better communication. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to present you this project. Here are my contacts. The project has just started, so we are in the process of setting up our website and all our social media presence. For the moment, therefore, take these two address as first point of contact, and hopefully we will be in touch pretty soon, and we will be disseminating also other ways to get in touch with us and to see what we are doing for the project itself. So thank you for that. I'll stop now my sharing.
Thanks a lot, Ilaria, for the presentation. Yes, thanks a lot, Ilaria, for the presentation, and more importantly, for the activities that you are going to do over the next 2 years. I'm pretty sure that they will make an impact, and by doing something different, you can make a difference. So thanks a lot. I would like to move on in the agenda, and yeah, let's go to the next point, which is the panel discussion, in which we have we plan to discuss, let's say, the current status and the potential action plan. No? And in that sense, I would like to introduce, if the slides moves, yes. To the panelists, today we have 5, in addition to Pascal and Ilaria, who has already presented. We have, or we count with the presence of Helen Kaye, which is who is the head of the Clean Energy Transition Unit within the DG Research and Innovation at the European Commission. Good morning, Helen. I believe you are online. We also have Michael Dietrich, who is the Innovation Director at Hydrogen Europe. Good morning, Michael. Thank you very much for being with us today. And as well, we have Luigi Crema, who is the president of Hydrogen Europe Research. So as you can see, in addition to Pascal and Ilaria, we have, let's say, representative of the 3 members of the joint undertaking, the European Commission, the industry, and research groupings, let's say, represented by Hydrogen Europe and Hydrogen Europe Research. So thank you very much for finding the time. I know it's busy, and yeah, I would like to maybe start making an overall question about what we have seen so far. No, we've seen the results from their survey, and I wanted to know if the results of the survey and the results of this survey is somehow similar to what you would have expected, or is there something that struck you from the results? It's something that you did not expect? Because Michael, you are working in Hadrian Europe, you are managing, discussing with big industries, the small industries on a daily basis. Luigi, you are representing to certain extent hundred of researchers, 1,000 researchers working day and night on these technologies. What is your opinion on the results? Is something that you believe it's in line with your impression working in the sector and in the technologies as such, or there is something that really it's different and then therefore you can highlight it? Maybe I would like to give you the floor first, Michael.
Yes, thank you very much, Alberto. On my side, I was not that surprised by those results. And this is something I can also see in my personal life. It's always a little bit difficult to have a neutral view because we are basically in our bubble. I'm working very closely with my members, so naturally I'm convinced that people know about hydrogen. But when I go out in the streets, I could see for 5 years that I'm now within Hydrogen Europe, the level of awareness on hydrogen technologies has increased quite a lot. And I think it's importantly due to the good results of the JU that allowed for further scale up of the hydrogen sector and subsequently all the communication that has been done. Now, I found very interesting the level of acceptance from the young people compared to the older people.
That was also strange, yes.
Maybe this is also due to a better understanding of the colors of hydrogen, and maybe the youngs wanted to go a little bit deeper into those aspects. So I would be curious also to dig a little bit more into this data. And also, it's striking how nuclear energy is perceived as not that good for the environment, while when you look at the CO2 emissions from this sector, it's actually one of the best. So there is always this perception that could be a bit improved, I think. I would stop here not to consume too much time.
Very good, Maggie. Thank you very much. Luigi, what do you think about these survey results? Something to highlight?
Thank you, Alberto. And thanks even for inviting me to this interesting webinar. It was a pleasure for me to follow the presentation of Pascal on the questionnaire and the related results. I'm really interested in supporting the public awareness, and I'm running in circle in between festivals, local events, to talk to the people and to hear even from the people, which is their impression in hydrogen. And I have the same feeling and information similar to what the results of the questionnaire are. So people more and more are aware of hydrogen. They are supporting hydrogen, particularly for an environmental concern, as well as to move on a safe way to consume energy, in particularly in some specific applications. I even attended another presentation inside the Hydrogen Valley in the northeast of Italy. There's a large cross-border hydrogen valley under creation, the North Adriatic, where the region Friuli Venezia Giulia did a questionnaire with quite a wide sample of people, so more than 1,000. And the results I see they are very similar. So more than 75% of people heard about hydrogen. And the results of that questionnaire was really interesting as well. Maybe if of interest, I can link to the region. So to have maybe a sample of the questionnaire itself, and this could be compared maybe with the more wider questionnaire performed by Pascal. It's interesting to see the relationship even in between a wide questionnaire spread alongside all Europe and the more vertical questionnaire in one specific region.
Very good. Thanks a lot, Luigi. And Helen, thank you. Good morning. And thank you for finding the time for being with us. I'm not sure you managed to follow the survey, but there are quite very positive, let's say, results compared to what I recall from Hyacinth. For example, 8 in 10 respondents are aware of hydrogen energy at the European-wide level. And Helen, I don't know if, in your view, do you think this is somehow the impression that you also have from the Commission? You are working with the JU very closely, and I wonder if somehow the results of the survey, it's something that it's in line with the perception that you have from where you sit. I don't know if you can share some thoughts.
Thank you very much for the invitation. And by the way, my name is Hélène Cray, this typically French name, which is very difficult to pronounce, sorry. Yes, I've seen a big progress even in 4 years. So I am rather optimistic on the perception of hydrogen. Now, hydrogen is facing the same problem than all other renewable energy. It's new, it's creating, let's say, some reluctance by definition because people don't know, and we should make a difference between skills and knowledge, because what we need is knowledge about hydrogen, generally speaking. It's a little bit different from skills for workers, let's say. So maybe we could refine a little bit the approach on that domain, because there is a need for a general knowledge about hydrogen. My perception is that we should also adjust our communication, and maybe it's a different thing from this study, but I would like to see a little bit of complementary, because people have a tendency to anticipate the risk according to impact and likelihood. And the way scientists assess the risk is exactly the opposite of the way normal people, men and women in the street, assess the risk. So the likelihood of a nuclear incident is extremely low, but the impact is extremely high. And this has more impact on our normal brains than the reverse one, which is the one checked by specialists. So the specialists look at the most likely to happen and reduce it. But the man in the street and the woman in the street, they look at the most impact and not the likelihood. You see, this is a classical example of risk in car and risk in plane. People are more scared by the plane, although the likelihood is extremely low. Yes. This does not enter in the brain. So if we want to do a communication about safety and perception of hydrogen, we should look at that, how to reduce the perception of the impact, and how to, because the likelihood for normal people doesn't work. They just don't get it. This is the outcome of studies. So that's something I wanted to bring to the study, which is very interesting, and see it's progressing. But if we want to progress more, we need to adjust the communication to the way the normal people think and feel, especially feel. And the last point is that maybe a way could be also to put in balance a real benefit at the level of the people. And this is what we try to do in the hydrogen valleys, to disseminate the knowledge about hydrogen with the benefit for the local people. Because we don't need to convince the industry, neither scientists, we need to convince the people.
Well, the people seems to be pretty convinced. I was just retrieving the data that 60% of the respondents believe the hydrogen is safe. So there is a perception that this technology is safe, which is, I think, a very good piece of news. However, and I think Pascal also mentioned it in his intervention, there is a high level of don't know responses, and therefore there is still somehow a gap, and still we need to make sure that the technologies are perceived as safe as other technologies, at least, and therefore the trust, the people trust, let's say, on the use and the benefits that they bring. I think what I normally say is that in society, we accept the risk of all the technologies. Every energy carrier, every energy source contains a minimum or a level of energy, and in society we accept the risks due to the benefits that bring to the society. And that's maybe the message that we also have to underline to the people, that yes, there are risks as in any technology, but there is a long track and a long record of experience on dealing with these technologies, and we will keep improving the safety aspects so that we have a safe rollout in the European and beyond. Very good. Pascal, I know you are leaving in very quickly. I would like just to tackle two aspects. One is because you've been in the field, you've done the survey in 2022. I would like to ask you if you can, let's say, we want to repeat this exercise in 2 years' time to see the progress, if the EU on the technology and the sector has increased the public awareness and acceptance, Any recommendations for others when performing this type of exercises? And the second question, because I know you have to leave. And the second question, based on your experience, the respondents, and the interviews, and the responses, the interviews, and so on, would you suggest any action, let's say, to improve public awareness? Those two aspects. Recommendations for someone dealing with this social research type of activities, and if you can somehow highlight or recommend something.
Thank you, Alberto. I think on your first question, without entering into more technical details relating to survey administration, I think what's the most important is to compare when you do a second measurement, you want to compare over time. In other words, replicating the condition of the first time is essential. That is, the mode, the data collection mode, the target population, all that has to be repeated to make sure that we are comparing like for likes. You see, for example, if you want to do a survey, the same survey in Italy in the next year, the coverage of the whole regions in Italy is essential to make sure that the samples are comparable over time. So it's something that the industry does regularly, but my first recommendation would be to ensure that the conditions, the technical conditions, are well communicated to those who would be doing it the second time. Regarding your second question, I think it's interesting what I just heard on improving knowledge. Obviously, this is something that in many policies, many elements is important, because citizens only behave or perceive elements with what they received as information, as education, as society as a whole. My recommendation, I think, in that respect, seeing what we've seen, is the expectation they have when, for example, if you take the question on switching, if we are able to address and inform better on that technologies, hydrogen technologies, answer all those hurdles. For example, when you talk about autonomy, it is seen as a hurdle to switching. It's about refueling the network. It's about elements that are concrete to the citizens to take a decision in the coming 2 years to switch to a cleaner energy. So I think it's not only about the general awareness. It is important, but as you've seen it, citizens are acting on the future already. 1 in 2 want to change, is considering to switch from fossil fuel. That means that there is already a process set in public opinion that says we want from now on to undertake a journey to change, but we have questions. Safety is obviously maybe one, but not that much if we see what we have as a result there. It's very practical. Cost, incentives, refueling station, autonomy, all those elements that would prevent someone from imagining things. This is where we enter the area in the area of social networks nowadays. People imagine. They read something and they take it for reality. So what do you want to play as a role in this communication is to answer concrete concern, concrete element that says the autonomy issue, we can solve it. The network, we are acting, the refueling network, we're acting on it. All those concrete elements, I think, would make it a reality for those who still believe it's somewhere. We've seen it, but mostly we don't understand what it is.
Very good indeed. One of the results, thanks a lot. One of the results I found quite interesting was when you were somehow tackling the aspects of changing the vehicle, the car, in which hydrogen is the preferred choice ahead of compressed LNG and compressed natural gas, which is a quite established technology, which shows that there is an interest, an appetite, and a willingness of shifting to this energy carrier, to this clean fuel. Very good, Pascal. You're free to go. Thank you very much. And I know you are leaving, so thank you very much for being with us. And we will be in touch. And let's continue with the rest of the panelists, in which I would like to shift a little bit the focus, if we can, and talk about public awareness on these technologies. Because I would like to hear maybe from the Commission, Helen or Pedro, also Pedro coming. Do you think, who do you think who has the responsibility of educating, let's say, somehow the public about this, the technologies, the benefits that the technologies could bring to our society? Do you think it's the government, the Commission, the member states, research institutions, the industry? Specific projects. What's your opinion, Helen? Do you think it's a combination of all? Who is somehow the chef of the field? No.
Well, that's a very good question indeed. First of all, I need to apologize because I will mostly have to leave earlier before the end of the panel, and Pedro is here to replace me.
Yes.
But I think it's a collective responsibility, and this is a generic question for any new technology. Media have a role to play. Media to explain clearly in normal words. Also education has a role to play. But if you count that the Commission will be informing everybody everywhere in the EU, we just don't have the means, it's not our role. We can prepare support documents, and we do that with fact sheets and things like that. But of course, it's up to the member states, it's up to the institutional levels, but also to the local levels. I mean, nothing prevents when you have to install another electrolyzer somewhere, well, the regional or local authorities are well equipped to inform the people about. And again, don't forget the media. The transformation of specific knowledge into something understandable. I just would like to quote, sorry, there is Blaine, to quote what we did for nanotechnologies, because if you think that knowledge about hydrogen could be further developed, think on how to explain nanotechnologies to normal people. We created an observatory which is mixing data and knowledge. And progressively, we opened that to everybody with different levels, different modules. So you are curious about that, you go to this observatory, which is managed by a regulatory agency, ICA, and you just get the level of information you need, seeing your level of education. That's also a possibility. And we're trying to do that with a joint undertaking. And I stop here. I think it's
very good, Ellen. Very good. No, thank you, and feel free if you have another commitment to leave us at any time. I know that you have other commitments. I wanted to make the similar question to Michael and Luigi. I would like to hear also from the industry and research. Who you think should lead, let's say, if there is a leader as such, let's say, on the public awareness? Who should, let's say, contribute to increase or raise the public awareness and the trust in the technologies? And Michael, maybe you can start again, and also you can share a little bit what are you doing in Hydrogen Europe to increase the level of awareness and trust in these technologies for the audience.
Yes, certainly. So, broadly speaking, we always need the public sector to act as a spark when we have new technologies, a new something, in order to de-risk, in order to start informing. And as a sector is progressing, then the private sector is taking over. And you have, I think, a snowball effect, and things are happening a little bit by themselves, I would say, because of the growing interest overall for any new sector. I don't have a magic recipe. I think it's a common task for everyone, starting with public and then moving to the private sector to inform on those technologies. It's particularly important for industrials because in the end they have a product or services to sell, and behind it we have jobs, we have growth. So that's indeed a key element, and linked to this, the need for skills that we will need in the future, because the energy transition cannot happen without hydrogen. I personally don't think so. And we need to have the workforce in place. It's going to be very important for industrials. So Hydrogen Europe, we do, of course, a lot of communications around those aspects and around the need for skills, the need to engage with regions in order to see more ecosystems running on hydrogen, so those so-called hydrogen valleys, that type of thing. We are proud co-organizers of the EU Hydrogen Week, for example, where there again, we raise awareness. I mean, anyone is free to attend this week of conferences. A strong effort is done. I know that hydrogen technologies are not in the lab anymore, but are here in real life. We need to continue pushing for this.
Mm-hmm. Very good. I will get back to one of the comments you made, because also I would like to hear about how do you see the role of the JU in this endeavor in raising public awareness. But Luigi, maybe, and also related with education, which is something that I had in my question list. I think I saw you recently describing a new project concerning the Hydrogen Academies, which is linked with the Spark that Michael was mentioning, related with the Net Zero Industry Act, which is, let's say, implementing the industrial policy, and then the umbrella of the Green Deal, and the Green Net Zero Industry, let's say, academies, But Luigi, what's your impression? How should lead, or it's a collaborative effort, raising public awareness in Europe around these technologies? And also, if you can share with us a little bit from your perspective, how do you increase? What are you doing? The type of action that you're doing in Hydrogen Europe research to increase the awareness and the trust in the technologies?
Yeah, thanks, Alberto. Yeah, I think rather than only use the term of educating, we should use the term of improve knowledge, because educating can be seen as patronizing to some people, while I think that in line with what said even Ellen before, nobody has the ultimate responsibility, but rather is a sum of responsibilities. Where different stakeholders, of course, can have a value in the engagement of citizens and people, and Hélène already mentioned the role of governments. We as research institutions, for example, of course, can support with the open days for research, the nights of the researchers. That is happening in September in Europe, for example, but even supporting at different levels the spread of knowledge. One aspect was interesting for me from the questionnaire in Friuli Venezia Giulia. So even if 77% of people declare that they heard about hydrogen, then only 23% were considering themselves informed about hydrogen. So this is a difference we should be aware of. And in between this 23%, some are considering a lot informed about hydrogen, some others enough. I think we should align our communication stream and the information and raise of public awareness, as said even by Michael before, in line with the growth of the sector. I remember that there was a wide engagement of citizens and public awareness early on the 2001, 2002. So people were waiting for something to happen and nothing happened at that time. So I think the momentum now is the proper one to boost these actions towards the citizens and even bringing real experiences on hydrogen to the citizen themselves. Hydrogen valleys, but even demo projects could be an ideal way to engage people. I had a personal activity in my team in Jive project where my team was responsible for the assessment of the quality of service in hydrogen buses in some European cities. And we performed this assessment with really nice results in the city of Bosen in Italy. We have seen a really high acceptance from people to this kind of technologies. People were waiting for the hydrogen bus, losing the standard diesel bus. So they were really happy and enthusiastic to use the technologies. And use of technology is not only awareness, but starts to become even a bit of knowledge on the hydrogen sector. I think enlarging this engagement of citizens and people in this demo project, particularly in hydrogen valleys, could be a good way to move forward with this.
Mm-hmm. Yes, concerning education, coming back to the academies, Luigi, do you think education, because if you remember when we were designing, let's say, the layout of the program, we finally grouped education and public awareness together because there was somehow a general understanding that through the education, we are raising awareness because the pupils, the students will talk with their families will talk with their peers, and so on and so forth, and the word is spread, no? And the people is getting used to the technologies. Can you elaborate a little bit on the Hydrogen Academy and how this somehow is going, because it's going to somehow contribute, not to raise public awareness with the spark of the Net Zero Industry Act? Yes.
Yep. Yeah, the Hydrogen Academy is really an ambitious program. Hopefully, it will start soon, early next year, after the evaluation of proposals will be concluded. There was a topic open to create this Hydrogen Academy in Europe on the last call of the Clean Hydrogen Partnership. The Hydrogen Academy is ambitious because it's tackling education at several levels, of course, starting from the pupils. And this is of much importance because when pupils come home and start to discuss into the families, they bring the interests that they learned during the day, and this is spreading the awareness and the knowledge on hydrogen. There's an ambitious program to create education for 500 young people, 5,000 young people and 5,000 higher level education students, master thesis, PhD. So using tailored programs that could be certified even on the level of the education patterns in hydrogen, and even using a multi-level of education tools, so standardized informative tools that could be available even online, that could be streamlined and open for everybody. Real experiences with hydrogen technology and solutions, as well as a standardized format of the education patterns with a list of novel realized books that will be utilized at the different level of the academy. This will create even a network of universities in Europe that will be aligned, all of them, in moving forward this wide program, and that could enlarge even year by year beyond even the specific project that will be run.
Thank you, Luigi. Yes, I'm aware of the initiative, and it's somehow responding to the initiative of the Commission in the Net Zero Industry Act, in which the expectations are to educate 100,000 workers, let's say, in 3 years once the academy is set up. So yeah, very good, because I agree with you. I think dealing with the formal education, the Hydrogen Academy is dealing with formal education, but I'm aware of other interesting initiatives at the European level dealing with vocational education as well, for example, in the Erasmus Plus program. And altogether, they will contribute to raise awareness. Apart from education, Ilaria, because I haven't talked to you yet, I wonder, because you mentioned that in your project, the new initiative that we are going to launch to raise awareness and so on, you have selected, in addition to the public, 3 groups of stakeholders. Can you elaborate again which ones are these stakeholders and why you have chosen to address those in view of making or increasing the impact of the project? Please.
Yes, indeed. We have chosen to speak specifically to the permitting authorities, the first responders, and the certification bodies. And this comes a little bit from the experience that we are having now with the new technologies that we are trying to demonstrate. And maybe there is appetite from the public for hydrogen technologies, but then when is the time to implement these technologies, there might be some barriers, some regulatory barriers, and we need to understand what is the perception also of these buyers and permitters, to understand what is the barrier for them, what is the perception for them, and how we help them to understand how they can introduce these new technologies, what is the risk associated with them, where they can find information or previous experience they can refer to. And it is true that maybe you have a national level already, some information collected, some people have been contacted, for example, through the HyLo project, to name one project which has been active up to a couple of years ago with information collected, I think, until now. But then you actually need to go and talk to the local first responders, and often they don't want to take the responsibility, or they are not aware of what's happening already in other parts of the same country, and obviously they don't want to take the risk. So we felt that it was important to engage with them as well, to understand what is the level of information that they have, to make sure that they have all the required information, and to try and tackle their concerns. So this is a choice that we made, as I said, basically considering the experience for the newest technology. So we're trying to pave the way for the future commercialization of these technologies. Clearly, the mainstream technologies, the commercial one, have already passed the hurdle, but there are other technologies which are upcoming and that need to be known by these stakeholders.
Yes, I think when I read the project, the work plan of the project, I think you are mainly focused on digital means, no? Or with your communication and dissemination campaign, it's mainly focused on digital means. Do you plan also in-person activities, face-to-face activities? And if anyone wants to, let's say, join these co-creation workshops and so on, can they contact you and see if they can contribute to design the best, let's say, guidelines ever?
Yes, of course. And indeed, you mentioned also the hydrogen valleys, and for sure the experience of engaging with stakeholders that these hydrogen valleys will do for us will be very important to understand how it is done, how the public is reacting, and perhaps understanding how the reaction could be with something newer. As well, but for sure we are open to hear, because really this is clearly an ongoing process. It's not that we will provide you with the definite solutions for communicating as best as possible the hydrogen, because people need convincing. There are a lot of factors influencing the reactions of people. Is a process which will take time, but the largest experience we can gather of interacting with stakeholders and citizens, the better will be indeed for producing a guidance which will help everyone to progress in communicating and providing clear information to the public.
Very good, very good. I think, fantastic. I think coming back to a comment from Helen, that she mentioned that maybe one of the key aspects is to adjust the communications, no, to underline maybe not to focus on the technology per se, although we are all a little bit into the technology, but maybe for the public to underline mainly the benefits that they will bring, no, in terms of standard of living or quality of the air, no, among others. In that sense, and coming back to one of the questions that I saw in the Q&A chat, and for the audience, feel free to make questions. Will you have the opportunity to make questions to the industry research and the European Commission today? But coming back with one of the questions, considering, let's say, that most of the hydrogen produced nowadays, it's from fossil fuels, from fossil-based origin, let's say, do you think that the communication could be misinterpreted from the public and somehow seen as a greenwashing of the technology? Do you have that fear? Do you have that impression that because most of the hydrogen currently is produced by, let's say, from natural gas mainly, among others, do you think that the perception of the people could be that it's somehow greenwashing? And I would like to underline that in the JU program, we are implementing a research and innovation program, and we are supporting just renewable hydrogen production. That's the future. That's the long shot, let's say. But I don't know. I would like to tackle about the greenwashing because it's very, let's say, popular in many other technologies. It's not just a particular fact of this technology. So I don't know if anyone wants to react on this, and you have, or you want to share a little bit your views on, do you think that could be seen as a greenwashing?
Maybe I can give a comment on that, Alberto. Yes, the greenwashing is one of the potential reactions from people, not only because each citizen can be informed on his or her own on this potential issue, but because there are even several environmental protection agencies that are looking at the production of hydrogen as it is today, and they are not supporting the communication channels, hydrogen, not so much neither for the future, because they are probably confusing in between hydrogen from fossil fuels and renewable hydrogen that it's more streamlined for the next future, and this part of the EU program to get the support. So yes, I think there's a risk that not proper information or communications can outreach the citizens and the common people because there's a different communication and information pathway depending on which agency is giving the information. We should probably try even to outreach this environmental protection agencies or associations, even to inform them that renewable hydrogen is not a greenwashing, and that there's a specific understanding and different policies from the EU are put in place, including the Renewable Energy Directive, the delegated acts on renewable hydrogen, the taxonomy, the guarantees of origin, that are of guarantee that
Yes.
hydrogen is clean, sustainable, and that the sustainability is one of the most important aspects tackled by the Clean Hydrogen JU and the EU programs at all.
That's a very good point about the guarantees of origin in order to provide fact-based information to the customers, to the users of the hydrogens. If we want to use the colors, when we say green, it's green, and it's clean, based on a solid, let's say, scheme.
If I may add, Alberto,
please.
very short, in the same sample of the questionnaire, there was a question where hydrogen to the participant. Hydrogen is considered friend of environment or safe or economic, and the highest answer and support from the people attending the questionnaire was that hydrogen is considered a friend of the environment for more than 80% of the people. So, yes, channels, maybe people anyway are considering hydrogen clean and sustainable.
I agree, and now it came to my memory the statement from the Vice President of the European Commission, Frans Timmermans, in one of the hydrogen weeks we had a few years ago, Hydrogen Rocks. I believe, maybe because we are all working here, I believe it's an attractive energy career, which will play definitely a role in the energy mix and during the transition. Helen, before you leave, because I believe you have another commitment, I wanted to tackle a little bit on the role of the EU. Because, as you well know, we are supporting many projects. We have different activities as well within the program, which are somehow managed by the program office and the different stakeholders. We are supporting projects. Projects are increasing the awareness, are making demonstrations, are getting in closer, let's say, closer to the citizens, so they get a first-hand experience with the technology. They lose the fear to the unknown. They get used to a new technology in a natural manner. No, we are also having a lot of communication campaigns. We are setting up the webinar. We are coordinating. We are in cooperation with you and Hydrogen Europe, organizing the Hydrogen Week. But we have one of the objectives, as I mentioned in the introduction, it's to raise awareness and the acceptance and trust in these technologies. How do you see the role of the EU in that tackling that objective? And in particular, if you can also share with us a little bit, because one of the key aspects is through the cooperation with other partnerships in Horizon Europe. How do you see the role of the EU and maybe this cooperation with other partnerships to raise, let's say, acceptance and trust in the technologies?
Thank you very much. Just a first remark is that this issue of greenwashing is also true. We should care about it, not doing greenwashing for what we import, because currently we cannot have enough.
Very good point.
So this is also a message we should pass, that we are not going to do the greenwashing through importing so-called green hydrogen through boats using the fossil fuel, for instance. So that close here. Now on how we can for instance, the GU can, in all its projects, have a kind of more descriptive, in normal language, fish, which is explaining to normal people the benefit of this project. That's an additional action, but that could well be done. I know that your website is very good, and it's every time you look at hydrogen, you go to the website. So you can do that. The GU is the armed arm, in a way, the weaponed arm, the weapon we have to touch, to do a lot on hydrogen. We can also, of course, do fact sheets, but I reiterate what I was saying. Apart from being explaining systematically for each interesting project. The Commission can only do fact sheets or communication actions from time to time because we don't have the capacity to do that. The GU has more capacity, but it's up also to the industry to explain what they do. And I would like maybe to hear about that by the industrial stakeholders, Hydrogen Europe especially, because they face this problem in a much more acute way than we do at the EU. And I will stop here because now I'm sorry, I need to join the member states for another meeting.
Never mind, Helen. Thank you very much. I will just give you 10 seconds if you wanted to send it or to share with us the final message. Any final message before you leave?
Well, we need hydrogen, that's very clear. And we need to care also about people, that's also very clear. So we need to find a way that hydrogen is accepted by all people and not only, let's say, technology. It is a part of the energy system, and we should explain the benefits of hydrogen into our energy system for its resilience and for its efficiency.
Very good, Helen. Thank you again. And you're free to go. Thank you very much again for finding the time. I know you are extremely busy, so thanks again. I would like to make the same question to Michael and Luigi. Michael, Luigi, you are working very close to the JU and within the JU. How do you see the role of the JU? I see Pedro Mendes, policy officer from the DG Research and Innovation, is also online. Good morning, Pedro. Thank you for taking over. Michael, Luigi, how do you see the role of the JU? Because the JU at the end, it's composed of 3 members, no? European Commission representing the European Union, industry and research, Hydrogen Europe, Hydrogen Euro Research. How do you see the role of the JU in meeting this objective, let's say, increasing public awareness and acceptance? Do you think we are doing well the way we are doing? Or do you think we're missing something that we should pay attention to? Luigi, I always give the floor first to Michael, so maybe you can share your views. I think I lost you. Luigi, yes, no. How do you see Luigi, the question was related with the role of the JU in this big picture of increasing the public awareness, no?
Yeah, sorry, I was waiting, Michael, to answer. So I will start with some comments. No, of course, the role of the JU is really important. The JU itself as a coordinating body of the different partners and members of the JU, so either of the European Commission, industry and research, I think, and even, of course, with the joint actions shared with the research and the industry. I think one way is already mentioned by Hélène to use the projects. So in the projects, particularly the demo, the hydrogen valleys, we can outreach quite easily the citizens. And citizens, particularly in hydrogen valleys, where there's an ecosystem of hydrogen value chain that is entering into the territories, can have even the chance to get in contact technologies with the people. That's of importance to directly engage people in asking them what's their perception, feeling on hydrogen technologies, and what's this in the pros and in the cons, of course, to better understand where are the barriers from and disagreement, maybe even from the citizens on the solutions to be brought close to them. I think on the other side, projects can extract informations that could be utilized by the JU to inform people through different channels, including schools, TV, internet, the streets, with the support of course, the members of the JU and even the universities, technology centers, industries. One important event, and I will leave this to Michael eventually to complement that, the JU is enlarging year by year, is related to the Hydrogen Week. I think having a wide event in 1 year, 1 week in a year that could outreach a large number of people through different channels and could be even in one place where people could come in an open way. They could talk with experts. They could see the projects, how they are running. They could learn about the different technologies, and they could even touch the different solutions in exhibition. It's an overall environment to be immersive and even moving a lot of information to the people, and so contributing to the public awareness.
Very good, Luigi. Michael, how do you see the role of the JU in this endeavor, meeting the objective of increasing public awareness and acceptance, let's say, the take-up of these technologies? How do you see the role of JU, taking into account the activity that you have already at the industry level, at the research level, the commission, how we can complement, increase the public awareness?
So several things have been stated already. So at JU level, all the events that are being organized, so of course, the EU Hydrogen Week, if you compare it to the program review days maybe 10 years ago, you can see the dimension has completely changed. And that's one of our successes, I would say. Not only the size of the population, but also who is coming to those events. Before it was very much a scientific and industrial community. Now it's much broader, I would say. So at JU level, I would say a very good job is already done. And then I completely agree with Luigi. Projects are instrumental to spread the word. And if one looks at topics that are published by the Clean Hydrogen Partnership, in almost all cases, there are very strong requirements for dissemination and communication. One aspect that could possibly be improved, but I don't have full visibility on this, is the aspect of languages. Here, we are all talking in English and we are all comfortable in English. But I can tell you that if I go to buy a piece of bread just around the corner, in my country, France, they may not be comfortable with English. So communicating in the language of the country is also a very important aspect in my view. That could be one way to increase public acceptance. And linked to this, I think the local press and the communication also done by regions is very important. Yes. So can we develop synergies better with maybe member state level, but also with regions, and you said it, Alberto, territories as well. Those ones, I think, could be the low-hanging fruit for us to increase public awareness.
Yeah, maybe because they are closer, no, to the citizenship, and they feel more attached, let's say, to a local authority, maybe rather than a national government and so on, at least in the day-to-day. No? Pedro, I wouldn't like to close the panel discussion without hearing from you. What do you think about the role of the JU? You are the European Commission. You are an important part of the partnership. How do you think that the JU should complement whatever it is already out there from the industry, from the research? How we can make it even better, in your views?
Thank you, Alberto, and thank you for everybody for being here today. In general, I'm very much in line and in sync with what Michael and Luigi have presented. I think that the Hydrogen Week is clearly an example of how far we have come in the last 15 years, especially for you that were here before me, and that have seen really like the impact that the JU and the previous JUs have been having. I think in particular now about the acceptance, I totally agree with Michael. It's important to reach to every language and to everybody. Hydrogen should not be an elite technological field. should be a field accessible to every European citizen, and we have 19 languages. So it's extremely important that we do not focus only in English, and especially also not just in English, French, and German. And in particular, given the different realities in different countries, I think that this European hydrogen promising, as it was mentioned before, as well. We're looking forward to see what will come out of it and how it can complement the Green Skills for H2 project. I don't know if it was also presented today. I think both projects can work together and can develop skills in all sides of the supply chain. And the JU, having been until our days one of the biggest promoters of the hydrogen economy in Europe, has the potential of continuing either via topics in the calls for proposals, either via studies to gather more funding, more people, and presenting the results, which every year that goes by, we have more results to present. And I think that's really the best way to put people on board. In particular, I was remembering, I think it was on the event that we had in March, where Commissioner Gabriel signed the joint declaration. There was a VR set from the Heaven Hydrogen Valley, funded by the Clean Hydrogen Partnership. And that VR set, to me, it was extremely pedagogical. It was a great way to see what's being done in the field without being there, and including this type of components in the projects that the partnership is funding at a dimension depending on the project. But for example, in the hydrogen valleys, that nine are going to be more funded now, following the last news. I think that's a component that would bring more people into the game, and would allow that more of us can understand in a pedagogical, fun way, because it's also important that the way we want to raise awareness, not just the content. And I think that with more of these projects, we will definitely create more acceptance in the European territory.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Yes, apart, I agree with you. I think valleys at the regional level could really make an impact, a huge impact in that region or in those territories, no? And as well, from our side, we have just launched the HyPop project, which is going to update, let's say, the guidelines and provide new material for raising awareness and so on. So we will have in 2 years' time at the latest new guidelines on how to best communicate about the technology. As I mentioned it before, from Hyacinth project, I still remember that one of the recommendations was not to talk about the technology, but about the benefits that the technology will bring, because we are somehow called technocratas at some point, and we were talking always about the technology, the beauty of the technology, while not for the average citizen, let's say for our peers outside, as Michael mentioned it, outside in the streets. They don't really care about the technology. They care about the benefits that the technology brings to them, among others. Very good. We are about to close the Q&A session. I would like to just give you the opportunity and first make a last round. If you want to share a last message from your side, Michael, Ilaria, Luigi, one message for the audience. We're still online, that you can share in terms of public awareness. One last comment. Ilaria, from your side as project coordinator.
Yes, indeed. We are very excited to start this project, and we are really keen to hear from your experience and your input, because this is very, very important. And just on the last item that you discussed, indeed, we will be, for example, translating the messages and working with the local partners to translate the messages in the local language, exactly because we perceive the language barrier as very important and something that needs to be overcome to reach the local citizen. Thank you.
Michael, thank you, Ilaria. Michael, any comment? Any last comment?
I'm glad to see that hydrogen is recognized as an essential vector for the energy transition, especially bringing flexibility into the energy system and the challenges we have in front of us. Quite important, and very happy to see that hydrogen is perceived as safe, and we should continue conveying this message. Thank you.
Very good, Michael. Thank you. Luigi, any last comment or statement?
Yeah, very short. Thanks, Alberto. Again, mentioning the questionnaire in Friuli Venezia Giulia on the 1,000 of people involved, almost 70% of them would like to be more informed on hydrogen. So this is an important action. More than this, I would say we should try to analyze the use cases where technologies could be brought close to the people and where the people could benefit from hydrogen energy directly. Just to make a short example, and I can close here, we will have in 1 month from now some roundtables in our province to see in some valleys where heat pumps cannot be a solution, where there are no gas grids available, if hydrogen could support in the transition and could even support in the supply of energy, of renewable energy to the common people.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Pedro, last but not least, any last comment concerning public awareness and for the audience?
To complement what I said before and what we all have added, hydrogen is a key part of the energy transition. It's not a silver bullet, and it should not be treated as such. But it's important that we understand the situation we are in, and the role hydrogen can help in the energy transition. So I believe that we are in an increasing role of public awareness about this field. And the more service we do, the more we talk with people, the more we have successful projects, the more we can showcase the advantages, and we'll be here with the partnership and also outside to make the best of it.
Very good, thank you, Pedro. And rest assured, from at least the Undertaking, we will keep up. We will work hard to increase the public awareness. With this, I would like to thank you all, Michael, Pedro, Luigi, Helen, Ilaria, for being with us, sharing your thoughts about public awareness and the plans within the JU. And I saw my head of unit connected, so I would like just to give her the opportunity to close the webinar. And from my side, I would like just thank again to the speakers, thank again everyone at home or at work watching the webinar. And yes, I would like to give the floor to Mirela Atanasiu, my boss, my head of unit for operations and communications, and actually the executive director at Interim. So Mirela, I know you are super busy, so thank you very much for finding the time, and the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I although I'm super busy, like you said, I found the time to follow most of the panel discussions. So really, thank you very much for your excellent moderation, Alberto, in case I forget to say that. No. Really happy to be able to hold this webinar, I have to say, as a GU. I think it's, although we have an experience over the last 15 years of the GU of discussing public awareness, discussing these measures that we have to take along the research and innovation actions, I think it's the first time when we really dedicate such an important time, and we look at this objective that in the end the GU got with a clean hydrogen GU. We got a dedicated objective to increase the public awareness, acceptance, and uptake. So we have three different, if you want, behaviors of the public, of the humans, that we have to work with, which is not easy, as you said before, Alberto, as technocrats that we are. So that's where getting this new objective last year in 2022, you heard probably at the beginning, we performed this kind of Eurobarometer. And I think the results are not discouraging, at least. They are encouraging. I think 82% of people being aware already of hydrogen. I think it's a very good number. However, only 11% of them will choose hydrogen. So if we talk about uptake, and we have to work on that to increase it. But as a benchmark, again, I think we should be happy. Again, the purpose of today's webinar is to show these results, and I hope you will find them interesting. The report is published on our website. The fact sheets are also published there per countries. So please, I do encourage you to look, to read. But then, as I said, it's a benchmark. We still have in front of us few years in which we have to work on increasing all these numbers, if I can say that, all these indicators. And this is where, and as I said, I follow really with a lot of curiosity the panel debate. And I think indeed, I agree with you, and I'm going to quote from some of you, it is a sum of responsibilities for all of us. I don't think it's only for the GU to work on that. I get that. We have this objective, but we need all of you in doing that. And I think we have all of us to be committed through the different actions. And I will call for the actions that the GU could do. And the GU indeed, through the projects, in particular the demonstration, those where we get in touch with the local actors, with the citizens, with the public. I think there, of course, we can do more. And of course, we are doing more with the valleys, with those where we get to the permitting people, I heard about first responders. Of course, we get in touch with other actors where we can also explain that. With the activities such as education, the academy, the training, at all levels, from small kids to university and to professionals. Of course, we will educate, we will train, we will make them aware about the technology, to use the perfect wording. And like Helen said, yes, we need hydrogen, that's clear. I don't think we were questioning that anymore. And indeed, we have different actions in order to address the public. And then finally, not only through the projects, but also through the way we communicate. And I heard about our events, I heard about the week, and indeed, we will do more and more, like even this event. But what I think I will add even more, just looking at the Eurobarometer, I will add the role of the media and the online. And this is where I think we should also maybe look at some actions and see how we can, and of course in the different languages, like you rightly pointed out, but I think this is one of the vehicles in which we can reach to the public. Because the public, again, we talk people on the streets, like I want to call them, and this is where we don't get through our projects, we don't get through our events, and I think we need to look at other type of actions. So what I would commit from the GU side, like we always did, and like Alberto, you yourself also did, is that we will do everything in our power. We have grants now in our hands, like I mentioned them, valleys, education type of grants, dedicated grants like HyPop on public awareness, but we will also have to work together with our members, European Commission, Hydrogen Europe, and Hydrogen Europe Research, also in developing maybe some other type of actions. And I just mentioned this related communication type of actions, not only events. So I will commit, like I said, that we will put in place probably an action plan, because we will have to report in the years to come on what have we done as a GU and as a sector to increase this public awareness. And for sure we will have such an action plan, and for sure you will hear back from us at least in the next events on the status of our work on this. With that, I would like to finish and really thank everybody. Thank again you, Alberto, for the excellent moderation. Thank you very much for doing that. I would like to thank all the panelists for joining us, for dedicating their time for this important subject that it is. To thank the communication team for helping us with organizing this webinar. There is a lot of work behind. It's just 2 hours. It passed so quick, but it's a lot of work behind, and I would like to also thank them for doing that. And finally, to thank the audience Really, thank you very much for looking at us, for joining us for such important discussion, and to again confirm to you that we will publish next week the recording of this event. The event has been recorded, but also all the presentations related to that. And again, we have published the report made by Gallup. Please go ahead. I invite you kindly to read. And again, keep in touch. Thank you very much for this. Have an excellent summer break, because I think we're all looking to that. And see you soon at similar events in the autumn at the latest Hydrogen Week. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you, Mirela. And just a last word from my side, feel free to follow us through the social media, to subscribe to our newsletter, to visit our website, because there you will find a lot of information about our activities. And through the newsletter, you can also be updated on new events, new initiatives, and new projects. So thanks again, Mirela, for these closing remarks. And yeah, thanks again, everyone, panelists, audience, and have a nice weekend. We will get back with additional initiatives and webinars soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Alberto and Mirela. Bye.
Thank
you. Everybody.
Thank you all. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you, Luigi.